perhaps automating processes. Erin, do we want to, I don't know if you did start recording. Yes, I see the count. Okay, great. So I just mentioned, joining me today is one of my colleagues, Erin Boyle. She is our marketing manager. I am the customer success manager here. And also, for any of you that have already been having conversations with Charlene, she is on as well. So if after this presentation, you would like to continue the discussion, you're welcome to reach out to any of us directly, or certainly visit our website. We have a contact form there. So my plan is to just give a brief introduction to Marquee 360, the company, for those of you that are new to our webinars. And then I'll be jumping into providing a map of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem for the business. It's going to be kind of conversation heavy or lecture based at the beginning, but then I am going to jump into the tools and just kind of demonstrate, a possible day in the life of using these different applications. And then we'll wrap up with any next steps that could be possible for you. So about Marquee 360, if you have not been with us before, so our organization was founded by a team of industry leaders, and we maintain a Microsoft Gold partnership we specialize in the area of work management and the Microsoft 365 cloud. The vision of the organization is to create solutions that enhance operations, boost efficiency, drive growth. And to do that, we partner with you, our customers, and we innovate and we automate and we build efficiencies to elevate team productivity based on what your unique needs are. Most of you, probably all of you, are likely Microsoft 365 subscribers, and we typically, our innovation focuses on extending that platform, like helping you really harness what you already have in the way of technology. We do work closely with the Microsoft product team, so that helps us help you realize and extend those products. And those new solutions that we build, typically we are using the suite of apps known as the Power Platform. We are focused on your success, so we hope that you engage with us as a trusted advisor. We do take a consultative approach to our work. So when we're designing, we're understanding your requirements and then identifying which area of your tool set, which platform would be best based on business requirements, budgets, etc. Also, we want to support you. We want you to be successful. So we do provide education and training, dedicated support, hypercare support, and then workshops. Really like to stay connected with our customers. So today's topic is about Microsoft 365 and what's in it for you. So you're probably familiar that Microsoft 365 is a subscription service. It allows organizations to basically run their operations in the cloud. So instead of having on-site servers and needing to periodically get laptops and refresh them with the latest local software installations, this subscription service takes care of that, right? Like Microsoft is managing those servers. We're getting updates to our desktop apps via that service. Now, one thing you may have already started to see, depending on how you go about accessing your tools, specifically the Microsoft 365 Office apps, is it has been rebranded. This went into effect in January, and so now you'll start seeing things labeled as Microsoft 365 Copilot. So if not very many people do, but if you were to go to portal.office.com to get to your suite of apps, You're going to have a little notification as things roll out that, hey, we've changed the URL. So you might want to update your bookmarks. And then as you can see up here at the top, we have that Microsoft 365 Copilot. So here I am. I'm in the new URL. It's been rebranded, and you can see there are all our typical Office apps. So I just wanted to call that out in case that is something that you are coming up against. So the Microsoft 365 subscription can bring value to any department. So if you're in accounting, if you're in sales, human resources, marketing, the project management office, or you have any group that needs to collaborate, this is very beneficial because it's a cloud-based platform of interconnected technology. So that's going to connect you. Hello. You can connect with fellow employees. You can get access to information and other content that you need in order to be able to do your best work from anywhere. So as long as you have internet connectivity and a PC, and it doesn't have to be the laptop that you left on your desk, you can get to resources if you need them. So you most likely spend a lot of time in Outlook, right? Emailing and calendaring, probably not so much task management. I've yet to find someone that really like lives and breathes within Outlook exclusively. But that is, you know, how can we not work without email? In addition to that, you are creating content, right? So that would be your Word documents, your spreadsheets, your presentations. And that content needs to be stored somewhere. And with your Microsoft 365 subscription, that somewhere is SharePoint. And the integration between these Office apps and SharePoint is pretty seamless. And so it encourages you, don't save it to your desktop. Let's, put it in a place when our information is of collective significance. Let's go ahead and get it into a SharePoint library that is accessible by the right people. In addition to, you're generating the content, what's nice about putting files in SharePoint is the built-in content management. You don't need to save a document as version A, version 2, version XYZ. We can work with one file, and SharePoint will control that versioning. We can roll back if we ever need to. We can actually implement a process of drafting and publishing. So that is a feature when we're putting our files into SharePoint for knowledge sharing. And those files, so if you're a desktop user, used to save things in folders. In SharePoint, those places are known as libraries. And then those libraries live in these SharePoint sites. And when we create a SharePoint site, if that's a way that your organization elects to work, when you actually go into SharePoint and say you want to create a new site, you have an option. One option is what is known as a communication site. That's where the content is managed only by a few, but yet it is consumed by a lot of people. So we most often see companies using the SharePoint communication sites as an intranet. The other option is a SharePoint team site. Not to be confused with Microsoft Teams. We will talk about that. But the thought behind a SharePoint team site is that site is specifically for a group of people. So that particular group, they are creating the content and consuming the content. It's meant to be somewhat of a workspace where people are collaborating on, a common set of deliverables, let's say. So in addition to generating your content, you are likely having private discussions, Perhaps you are having small group chats, calls, or meetings. Those could be associated with group initiatives. And so maybe we're also needing to share files with those individuals. And this is where Microsoft Teams really shines. And we'll dive into that a little bit more. But what you can see is I have that overlapping SharePoint a bit because part of what makes Teams, I mentioned that file component, it's basically using SharePoint behind the scenes so that you can take advantage of that content management, the versioning, the drafting, whatever, within the context of your team UI. So when I start to talk about that, well, why would I want to then use Teams versus SharePoint? I'll show you a side-by-side comparison that might help you make a decision as far as what is the better workspace for you. Now, starting to see a lot of places, a lot of files. Things are perhaps being shared with you. Perhaps you have your own personal files. And that's where OneDrive comes into part of the discussion. So you might be familiar with OneDrive as your private storage space in the cloud, right? We all used to have, well, we still do. We have, documents on the desktop. So My Files in OneDrive, that is a place for you to put anything that doesn't have collective significance, right? If it has collective significance, it really should have a SharePoint home. Maybe there's a team that document is really meaningful to. But if it's something more personal, like let's say I'm getting ready for a 6-month check-in with my manager, and I want to put together some notes to keep myself organized, that file I'm going to keep in OneDrive. But now there's another aspect of OneDrive where OneDrive is a portal, and you can use it to find the documents you have most recently worked with, the documents that others have shared with you, documents that were shared as part of a meeting. And I'll show you that. So if you haven't been in OneDrive in a while, I'll share that interface with you. Any questions so far? Okay. So with your Microsoft 365 subscription, the other thing you get, and you may not be aware of, is the Planner app. So Planner is great in that it helps you manage your workload. So I have a tendency to flag emails in Outlook. Those become personal tasks for me. In order to quickly find those, I can go to Planner and filter on flagged emails. I mentioned, preparing for a 6-month discussion with my manager. With Planner, I can give myself some private tasks. With Planner, it's possible to create project plans for small initiatives. So let's say you're in a department, you're going to lead a department project. You could create a basic plan, and as you're giving people tasks, those tasks will show up for them in Planner. So again, they can see their entire workload and then prioritize effectively. And that's available. The ability to create basic plans is available with just your Microsoft 365 account. If you start doing some research about plans in Planner, you may see mention of a premium plan. In order to craft that type of project plan, which is a little bit more sophisticated with dependencies and critical paths and things of that nature, you do need an elevated planner license. Now, I have come across some desktop power users that like to create forums. They like to survey their teams. They might be surveying external vendors. And, it's really nice when we do that as a digital form versus sending an email. So with Microsoft 365, we have the ability to create Microsoft Forms, they're called, and the engine behind them is actually SharePoint, specifically SharePoint lists. And I'm looking at my screen here, and who doesn't love Excel, right? Excel has become, it's just such a powerful tool, and we can really do some great data analysis and visualization within Excel, and we can even connect to other data sources within Excel. But when we want to take it to another level and create dashboards that we can share with others in our organization, that's when we might consider using Power BI. And Power BI is part of what's known as the Power Platform. So Power BI, that's going to be a reporting tool. Power Automate, that's going to help us automate workflows or processes. Power Apps, that helps us develop a little bit more sophisticated digital forms and solutions. And then I should really change the slide because these virtual agents we now refer to as co-pilot agents. So as a Microsoft 365 subscribing organization, if you as a department or a business unit have a need for digitizing something or automating something, these are available for maybe you're a citizen developer, you tend to find yourself getting a little bit into no code tools. Here at Marquee 360, we use the Power Platform to develop our solutions. And just to what I'm going to do here, let's see, just to show you an example of what a Power App might look like. So what I like to say about this, so this is a custom application that we have developed. Behind the scenes, it's just that SharePoint and that SharePoint platform. That SharePoint platform is capturing all the data that we might put into these forms. And then in this app, we do have a workflow, and that workflow was built using that Power Automate tool. So again, you have this available to you in your company if you are a Microsoft 365 subscriber. So you're probably going to find out as you start to explore these things, or you've probably already heard, you're seeing double, right? File sharing and collaboration is possible either through the SharePoint UI or the Teams app. You're going to see that things like OneDrive and Planner, you can get to them from multiple places. Meetings, I can schedule a meeting or see meetings either in Outlook or Teams. So it can be overwhelming at first, but trust me, eventually you're going to find a way of working that suits you best. And if you do need some recommendations or guidance, as I said, please go to the marquee360.com website. We have a contact form there, and you could reach out to continue the conversation. Some things that are easy to kind of explain the difference. One of them would be SharePoint versus Teams. So let's talk about SharePoint first. So what's nice about SharePoint is it can be highly visual. Now, depending on your experience with these tools, the first time I ever used SharePoint was more years ago than I'd like to mention. And at that time, it was just a file management solution. It wasn't anything pretty to look at all. But now you can really do quite a lot. And I hope, let me see, I'm going to pull up, it's called the Lookbook. Let's see. That's not it. Hold on, I have a URL. So hopefully you remember me saying, and this is the way we see SharePoint used today most commonly is one type of site you can create with SharePoint is known as a communication site. We see it used a lot in intranet-based settings. And so if you come to the lookbook, you'll see, they have examples. Maybe human resource department has a site that's going to be used by the whole company in order for them to get to information about, benefits and career resources and things of that nature. Maybe just a corporate home where, the leadership is sharing information. We have a list of events, but you can see these are all, we've got images, we can drop pictures. There are other little, we call them web part widgets that we can drop on. And then the other type of site I mentioned you can create are these team sites. And again, they're thought, like in this case, IT help desk. It's assumed that whoever has access to this would be the IT help desk staff. And that's where they're tracking devices, or they're creating the materials that eventually might be published to the internet. They themselves have their list of resources to help them do their job better. So that's just an example of how we see SharePoint used. Still has that file sharing capability, does have that content management functionality set, so version history, the ability to configure content approval. We can present lists with calendar views. The only thing with calendars in SharePoint is they do not integrate with Outlook. So a good use for calendar views in SharePoint might be that, if your company is going to have a night out with the Phillies, or has an upcoming blood drive, or a chili cook-off, those type of things they might present as a calendar on the SharePoint site, but it's not necessarily part of your Outlook or Teams calendar view. And certainly these SharePoint sites, depending on your company's security and how they manage things, it can be opened to external parties. So if that is maybe how one of your team works, like I like to pick on marketing. Marketing is usually working with, outside graphic designers and things of that nature. Those sites could be opened up to external parties. Teams, however, is much more of a work space. You'll see you can do many of the same things. So yeah, we could use Teams as a way of publishing announcements. We could have a place to put PDF-based newsletters, but we can't really gussy it up. We can't make it pretty. We can't do a lot of things visually like we can in SharePoint. So we don't see Teams serving as an intranet too often. It's more of a working place for functional units or project-based teams. We still have that file sharing capability. That content management feature set is still available. When it comes to task management, in SharePoint, we could use a list to manage tasks. With Teams, what we do is we bring the Planner app into the UI. So we have quick and easy access to the Planner app. And we can even pin individual plans or project plans within team channels themselves. And I'll show you that. What SharePoint lacks is kind of this, real-time communication. When we are working with teams, we have something known as posts. That kind of serves as a digital forum for the teams, and they can use @mentions. And what's nice about that is if someone joins the team at a later time, we don't have to worry about, oh, I got to forward them that email because we had this conversation about. If we start to get in the habit of having those team important dialogues in the context of posts, it's persistent. And as people come in and out of the team, they would have access to that knowledge. Since you're on this call with me, I shouldn't call it a call, but you know that Teams also supports conferencing. We don't have that within the SharePoint UI itself. But just as the case is with SharePoint, with Teams, we too can open certain teams or channels to external parties if we need them to be part of that collaborative unit. Any questions about this before I talk a little bit about task management? Okay. So, as I said, how you decide to use these tools and navigate and where you go to do what, it'll kind of depend on your preferred way of working. So, if you're someone that's you're not doing a lot of project-based work, you live and breathe in Outlook. What's nice about Outlook is you can get to what is referred to as the to-do app. As I mentioned, if you're flagging emails, you're going to see them in this app. Through this app, right within the context, you go to Outlook, you open your to-do app, you can start assigning yourself some private tasks. And then if anyone has given you a task as part of some other initiative, you'll see those assigned tasks here too. So, maybe Outlook is more of your workplace. Many of Microsoft's applications, you can get to it from multiple places. The Planner app you can get to from the browser. And so if you decided to access the Planner app via the web, you will still be able to see your flagged emails. You will still be able to see those personal tasks that you gave yourselves. You will still see the tasks that may have been assigned to you by others, but now, because we're in the Planner app, we have the ability to create project plans ourselves. So if you did get asked, hey, we'd like to have, a third quarter event and we want you to take the lead, you could then elect to create a plan in Planner to help manage organize tasks for a bunch of individuals. I am someone that uses Microsoft Teams as my workspace, so I don't go to Planner in the web. I don't really use the To-Do app. I go into Teams. The Planner app is accessible to me there. So again, I'm going to have all the same capability. It's just within the context of Teams, and that's where I spend most of my time. So I'm just, building up that workspace for myself. All right, so I'm gonna just show you a couple of things, how these are connected or could be used. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm actually going to end my presentation so I can see my agenda over here so I don't go down a rabbit hole. So 1 second. I could just end my presentation. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so one thing I wanted to share with you that you may not be aware of is when you get emails and you flag them, right? So this email is now flagged. As I mentioned, that can become a task. And I can see those tasks in Outlook. So I'm in Outlook. Here's my inbox, my calendar. And then there is this to do. That's where I am if you've never been in there. You can see I flag emails all the time. Whether or not I actually follow up on that, it looks like I'm behind. But as we're doing that, I can easily jump to those. As I mentioned, if others are assigning me work, I can get to them here. I can prioritize my day, pick a couple, anything that's due today is automatically going to be here. But I can also, as I'm looking at, let's say I'll go to my tasks. Maybe I want to, this is overdue. So maybe I want to go ahead and add it to my day. I can do that. And again, I'm doing that all in the context of Outlook. So very quickly, I could then jump back to my inbox and see what's been going on. So that's one thing I wanted to highlight for you. Let's pretend that I am in HR here at this fictitious company called WorkWise. So here is an example of a SharePoint communication site that is being used as an intranet. So you see we have, who we are, what's happening, some resources. This company has different locations and times. So we have a little, these are called web part, that's letting me know what time it is where. That's kind of nice. You can see we can publish news, quick and easy access to resources. So this is just an example of a communication site. I mentioned, let's assume I'm in HR. And so my HR department has an area in the intranet, but we also have a couple of internal spaces. So I'm going to go to this internal site. Happens to be a SharePoint team site. And I wanted to show you something that I always thought was really cool. So let's say we draft and create policies and procedures. Chances are pretty high that we have a template. So think about, like, if you are someone that generates user guides, if you have a template that you use for reports, we can make that template available right here from the new button. So first of all, I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to say, you know what, in policies and procedures, we're not creating Excel documents. Yeah, maybe we'll do some PowerPoints. We're not creating OneNotes. I'm not doing surveys. I'm not doing videos. I'm not doing Visios. So I can save that, and that's going to limit, what I'm encouraged to create here. But I can also add a template. So I'm going to do this. And you'll see here, I created a real ugly report template. So now, if I have a new policy and procedure to create, I can come here and have access to that. Now, by default, I'm actually still in the browser. I'm using the Word web app. We could have this default to opening in my desktop, or I could go ahead and do that myself. But you see, I'm immediately given a document, so I can rename it right here. We'll call it second half report. So I've just renamed that document, and then I could go through and, overwrite. If maybe your template actually has places where you're filling in, right? You want to drop in some things, so rather than overwrite, it's more like form fields. So that's all possible, and this has been saved while I was working. So if I could get it's hard for me to see right now because I have my presentations in my way. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I was in here, right? That's where I went new. I started. And so the report's right there. So I wasn't sure if you're familiar with what you can do with that new bar. And the same is if you like to use the file storage in Teams, same thing. It has a new bar, and you have the ability to tailor this menu and add the ability to use a template. So I wanted to be sure to highlight that. I mentioned being able to get to Planner via the web. So let me just close these. So here you see I'm at planner.cloud.microsoft. I am seeing my day, right? My tasks. It is possible, if there are plans I work with a lot, I can pin them. And this is that capability you did not have if you accessed your tasks via To Do from Outlook. Here I can actually go ahead and see plans, search for plans, and create new plans. If I create a plan, if you're a Microsoft 365 account holder only, you're going to have the ability to create a basic plan. If you have elevated licensing, you're going to have a choice. I believe we have a planner event coming up July 15th. So if you'd like to really do a deep dive into planner, consider signing up for that. And I'm going to pull this all together in a minute, but the other thing I mentioned was OneDrive. So like I said, OneDrive, you probably thought of a place to put, your own personal files, but you can see now it's really evolved into something much more robust. On your home page, you'll get some recommended files for you based on what you've been working on. You'll also be able to quickly find files that you have been working on and filtering them either by file type or maybe by the name of a person that you've been working with. If you remembered someone shared something with you, you can find it by this. If you're starting to frequent folders and files and they're in Teams and they're in SharePoint, simply add them to your favorites and you can come to OneDrive and quickly get to those. This is one of my favorites. Hey, we were talking about a file during that meeting. What were we talking about? I can quickly get to my meetings and gain access to those files. So if you haven't been in OneDrive in a while, you might want to take a look and see what that is about. So my personal preference is to work in Teams. So I'm actually in Teams right now. On the left-hand side, this is called the app navbar, and you can add your favorite apps to it by simply clicking on the app and finding something, or even going this way. Like if I'm using Word all the time, I could certainly pin that here. So I have Planner. So again, I work in Teams a lot. I'm chatting, I'm calendaring. So I want Planner accessible right here. And I've got all those same things that you saw when I was in the browser, my day, my tasks, my plans, my pinned ones. I also have quick and easy access to OneDrive, which we were just looking at. So again, my files, what was shared with me during that meeting. So let's kind of go through a scenario. I have a new project. So I'm supposed to plan a summer of learning event. So what I'm going to do is I'm in Teams. I'm going to go to my Teams and channels, and I'm going to say I need to create a new team. I'm going to preface it with demo. We'll call it Summer of Learning, right? I can give this a little context by providing a description. It used to be that the first channel would default to general. Now they ask you to create a channel name. Sometimes I will name that the same of the team. Sometimes I'll do channel 00, like that's where we go. And I'm going to go ahead and by keeping it private, it means only people that I invite to participate will be allowed to see this. I believe at this point it's going to ask me if I want to add anyone at this time. There we go. I'm going to skip this for now because I can always go back and add people later. Okay, so now I have my team. I mentioned using posts. This is instead of maybe using email. I can say, welcome to the team. We look forward to planning this year's summer, summer of learning. I can post it. I can also pin it. And this is for the entire team, and that will just always stay at the top. I mentioned trying to use this instead of email, so I don't know if you are aware, but when you get emails and you're like, oh, this really is important to my project, you can share to Teams. So let's see. So the dialog box popped up over here. So what happens is I get the opportunity, and I don't know how quickly things have all been configured behind the scenes, but let's see. Demo, I'm not seeing my summer of learning yet. Oh, there we go, channel 00. So I'm going to send this. This is of significance to the team. All right, so that'll get shared. See, like I said, they're still setting that up. But normally I would hit share, and that would then actually be a post as well as a file. So keep that in mind. Like if we're trying to, rather than having to keep track of who do I need to forward this email? Did I include everybody? Send it to the team. For my summer of learning, it's going to be a group effort. There's lots of things that we're going to have to coordinate. So from here, I can actually say, you know what, I want a plan. And so I'm going to go ahead and create a new plan. And that's going to put that right here. And remember I mentioned files? So here, it might take a moment. Here, that new, again, like if I want us to use a certain template for all of our documentation moving forward, I can do that here. And, if I do generate a document, it's going to automatically create it. I don't like the name, obviously, document, so I can relabel it here. You know, and that should, we should see that change. You can continue to add resources up here. So let's say you do have a SharePoint intranet and you go visit that marketing page all the time because they have slide decks or logos that we can use. You simply hit this plus button and you can start to add all sorts of additional resources for your teams. But again, we're kind of focused on, pulling those Microsoft 365 elements together. What I'm not really showcasing here, I actually have Power BI as an app. But certainly if we decided we needed to create a Power BI dashboard and have it accessible here, we could do that. If we decide we want to automate some processes, we can do that. So I hope this is kind of maybe showing you a different way of thinking about how you might work and how you can pull all of these tools together. Does anybody have any questions for me? Oh, you know what? The one thing I didn't speak to, I was just thinking I'm missing something, is Copilot. So as I mentioned, Microsoft has rebranded, right? So this is now Microsoft 365 Copilot. And that's because you're going to have access to chat as either a Copilot app, actually in Teams. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. I can get to it right from here. I can find out, I encourage you, go in, ask Copilot, what can you do? And it'll let you know the different ways it could assist you with drafting emails. My favorite thing is taking a Word document and asking Copilot to draft me a PowerPoint. It's actually pretty slick. But other ways that we can embrace Copilot is by creating our own agents. Again, if you have in-house staff or you want to partner with an organization like Marquee 360, and one app that we developed, just a concept for you to consider, is a change management and adoption Copilot agent. We refer to this as RIA. And RIA's brain is based on content that you, an organization, could manage. Our thought behind this is that RIA would help companies adopt a standard way of managing work. If you have that type of if you have best practices or recommended ways of working. So maybe you have a document about your project management standards. In this case, this fictitious company, Contoso, they put some standards as far as resource management. And then they had some courseware or user guides. How will the PM, the project managers, manage resources using one of Marquis solutions known as PPM 360? How will the PMO manage resources also using that tool? And then a document focused on frequently asked questions. What's great about this, these documents can continue to be modified as standards change, the list of questions grows. And as I said, we have our agent, Ria, using that as knowledge. So, here's a pre-scripted prompt. I'm giving it some context. I'm a staff member. I need to understand the different types of work. So Ria is quickly surveying the content of that collection of files, which we actually, let me just show you this. What we did was we created a team. We called it a Work Management Center of Excellence. And all those files I just mentioned are right here. That's what Ria is using as its brain. So instead of me having to read through all of that, it's quickly surfaced. These are the types of work. And then I can say, great, you know what? I have an idea for a project. What do I do next? And Ria is going to come back with, we shall see. But what I'm highlighting here is, whether it's, a custom developed agent or it's Microsoft's Copilot, we can start to fold that into how we're working. As you go into your Word, your Excel, depending on licensing, you'll start to see that. So you can see Ria has come back and has told me here at Contoso, I need to use the PPM 360 intake app. That was that digital app I showed you at the beginning, and is giving me some steps. So that's what I wanted to show you. Maybe something you saw prompted an idea or a question. If you need help doing a better job at managing, personal tasks or project tasks, we would love to be part of a conversation with you. If you need help kind of pulling all of that together to encourage better collaboration among teams, or during initiatives or just as a functional unit, we can assist with that. If you have processes, like if you're taking data from one system and manually keying it into another, or you're using email a lot to kind of move things along and you want to transform that, we can talk to you about process automation. And then if you like that idea of using SharePoint as an intranet, that's another area that we would be happy to help you with. So I'm going to end it there. Does anyone have, I know Erin is going to be, I think, sharing a survey. We'd love to know if, you got, you at least maybe had one aha moment during this presentation, but I'm going to be quiet and see if anyone has anything to say, or Erin, if you have anything to add.
That was great. Thanks, Allison. I did put this survey in the chat while you were finishing up. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, you have a little less than 10 minutes then back in your day, unless, I'm happy to stay on for those 10 minutes if you have some specific questions. But thank you for joining us, and we hope that we have the opportunity to have a more direct conversation with any of you. I appreciate your time. You're welcome.
Thanks, Allison. Have a great day.
You do the same.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.